what to do when you feel this way. Is it working?
Yes. Now.
Oh no! Was it sound off?
Yes.
No way!
Yeah, I hit this button here that there's supposed to be another button here, but it's been a while since I've had it set up that way, and I forgot that it turns the audio off.
Now it's on.
Well, you guys watched us for this while now, talking about these salacious topics. We're all warmed up now, John.
No. Well, we're talking about failure in my life and failure as a leader. Leaders face failure all
All
the time.
the time.
And
And it's not nice either.
it's not nice. And they draw it in personally. I'm a failure.
Good Lord, yes.
I remember a preacher in Bible school said, there's so many failures, but you have to be a successful failure. And he meant, there's a scripture that says, a righteous man falls 7 times and gets back up. It doesn't have to be 7. It doesn't have to be, it's just meaning several times he can fall, but he gets back up. And so failure is not the problem as much as you got to be a successful failure. If you lay down and quit and you're done, then you're done and you're done and that's a failure. But if you get back up, you're a successful failure. You return to a spot that you're supposed to be returned to, because everybody is different. But when you take that failure inward and say, I am a failure, it defines you as a failure. That's really a bad thing. That's a bad thing because it also carries with it shame.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You feel ashamed and disillusioned and not good enough, and of course not liked, not loved, and so now you say in your statement of definition of who you are as a failure, you say to God, you can't love me, I'm a failure. And when you say that, you are deciding that you're going to be the deciding factor and the person that makes that decision, and not God, and that's not how it works. So, we say God is faithful to do this and love the failure, but I'm saying I'm pretty much convinced that He is the way He is, whether we are or not, whether we're with it or not. He is just the way He is, whether we're with it or not, whether we're on board or not, whether we get it or not. He stays the same. There's a scripture that says He never changes. In Him, there's no shadow or variableness or shadow of turning. He doesn't go, well, I'm going to be this way, and you won't. While you're not looking, I'm going to be this way. No, He's ever constant, all the time, faithful, no turning, which is nothing like us. I can turn from Him so many ways. This isn't funny. I can turn from goodness, get selfish, do whatever the heck I want, or whatever. Everybody can be a failure, do failing things or things that are termed failure at any moment, at any time. That's a hard thing for leaders to put together because they internalize it. I am no longer a leader because I failed here.
I mean,
Not true.
I definitely mesh with you at this point. I mean, the funny thing is you certainly know you're swimming in this game when you take it personal that somebody else didn't accomplish something. You're just like, oh, God. Or they continue to act in a certain particular kind of way, and you've been trying to attempt to steer them away from that. Or they... So, I mean, through those processes, I've tried to refine into a better way of viewing these things. I probably need to read some more books or something. Try to fill my head with other ideas other than organically derived ones. But a lot of them, this is part of the reason why I take personality temperament way seriously, way more seriously than I lead on. I think some people have eventually realized it, but they don't know that, again, that I see the world how I showed you, which is kind of detached in some capacity, where I'm willing to just sit there and just watch it and think about it at a distance. And when I see things where I'm like, you know what? I see this possibility. I'm like, okay, we could do this thing, or like this person, I could partner with this person, and we could do this. And when you get in those situations, the kind of optimism blinds you, which is a positive thing because you should be able to see further in the future what could be. But then you start getting into the mud, and then you start coming into the reality that, you're moving in this vision with somebody, but they're still them. They're not, and your idea of them is not exactly mirroring reality, and it matters because you're like, well, they'll be able to do this, and it's like, but they've proven themselves a million times that they're not that kind of person that would do those kinds of things. They're the kind of person that thinks that. And I'm thinking of like, a couple people in particular, but it's with all people. I've made this mistake with probably every single person I've ever interacted with and attempted to partner with some project or this or that I've misunderstood something. And every single time it's come down to the fact that it's like, I forget that they're that personality type and I'm not that type. And they are that type. And that type they operate in the world in a different capacity, in a different kind of way. And it's not like I'm impossible to seeing it. But one of the things I've learned from that, not to just talk about failures, but what I learned is you gotta, if you're gonna partner with people or come up with ideas and work with it, they have to be the right, like there has to be that cog that's their shape that they can be put in, because you want them to do their thing there. And for some people, that's hard. They don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand how wickedly hard it is because they have maybe more of an opportunistic mindset, or they're very, what I've noticed is people-oriented people are the worst because they want to fill any cog size hole. They go like, oh, I want to be helpful. And so they're going to hop into a role that is just not for them.
Not their gifting either.
And some people, and we know some mutual people that are like, they will try to hop into any role, and they're bad at all of them. and if you're not careful, you'll fall for it every time. And I actually have to like coach people on this of like, don't do it. I know you think that you're helping them by doing that, but all you're doing is you're gonna end up in, they're gonna be confused and let down, and you are too. And the reason is because that's not their job.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Some people's job is not to be.
They need to stay in their own lane.
They do
with their gifting, their temperament.
Yes.
Otherwise, they're really a fish out of water. So
right.
But I'm talking about if you shift this to the other side, I'm talking about the fact that leaders lead for a period amount of time or something, and they suddenly see a failure or a result that's definitely not within their desire or what they're hoping for, and then these leaders, they get discouraged and they flight, they take off, they go like, you know what, I'm out of here for a while, I need to back out of here. And so the leader is absent while he's present. I've seen leaders in meetings, they're there, but they're not there. They left.
Oh, John, I'm living this life right now.
No, I don't want to talk about you.
But I do. I know.
I don't want to do that because
I know exactly what you're talking about.
No, I'm scared now. See, you're scaring me. I'm trying to.
No, it's about things that don't.
I don't want to change a diaper. I just want.
I know exactly, because there's times where, like, to your point, we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna. Okay, you guys don't realize this, but I'm carrying a pack that you don't appreciate. I'm gonna go ahead and put that pack down.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna walk right out, and everybody's gonna be like, everything's fine.
Everything's fine. You put the pack down. Everybody thinks it's fine. It's not fine because the leader put the pack down. He walked out.
Yes,
or he may stay there, but he's not.
And they have no appreciation for that pack's being carried at all.
And
he just assumed it doesn't even exist.
Well, it's just another part of the depression that you pick up on, or the discouragement, because they don't care.
No, they don't. They don't care. They have no capacity to care. And it makes it
I think they got a capacity, but they don't care. Let's just say they don't care. Whether they got a capacity or not.
That's fine.
I mean, they might.
Personality, temperament plays here, John. They may not have a temperament who could care about those things. You could even explain it to them, like sit them down, explain it on a whiteboard, explain it in metaphors, and they're still going to be like, I'm gonna go do that thing over there. And then they come to you and then they got these problems. You're like, that's because the pack is not being carried. Why won't you carry the pack?
So God uses a David, a Moses, a Samson, guilty of lust and sin and independent,
Touching dead animals.
dead animals, and then you go on with all kinds of leaders in the Bible that are not perfect. In fact, it never says anything about Daniel being messed up or wrong. Nothing. Never does about Daniel. Never really. And it says that Samuel, none of his words fell to the ground, so he had quite an amazing life. But I think what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to speak to the leader and say, you can quit. You can be there and not be there at the same time. I mean, you're physically there, but mentally, spiritually, whatever, you're not there because you took the pack off and you set it down, and you don't want no more to do with it because you inside retreated. You backed off and you said, "Screw it, the heck with it. I don't want to do this no more." And it's connected to feeling like a failure, seeing a failure, and then saying, "I'm a failure." And the man of God in the college told me, you can see the failure, you can feel like a failure, you can say it's a failure, but you got to be a successful failure, meaning you got to get back up. You got to pick up the pack and get back in it again, differently, of course. But he doesn't shield a leader from falling like that. He doesn't shield a leader from that. He says, I'm going to make you a leader that is a successful leader. Because in order to be a leader, you got to be a successful failure. Because there's no leader perfect except Jesus. And even he felt bad and said, God, not my will, but your will be done. Father, why'd you forsake me? He had his difficult times in his humanness.
Very clear. But
he did not stop. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. And that's what I'm saying inside me. Maybe I took my will out of this and said, the heck with it. But then I got to understand, not my will, but thy will be done. And that's a huge thing and a difficult thing for me, especially in a capacity of leadership. You don't get a lot of, what do they call them, kudos or pats on the back.
Jesus.
Most of the time in church, in people, in Christians, that kind of thing, Christian, because there's no, a lot of people are patting the back of Tom Brady, wonderful, fantastic GOAT. He's the best. He's the best. He's the best. He gets a lot of accolades, and a lot of people like to do that because the people are getting stuff out of the fact that he's famous. We like that he's famous. We're all for him. And so they enjoy being a part of his successes. They say, yeah, his successes, yay, I'm part of that. I'm a part of their successes. But let that guy fall.
Yeah. You'll definitely find out real quick how much...
Tom Brady says, screw football, I'm out. You all people are retards. I'm going into laying tar on the asphalt. That's all I'm going to do, just tar, make driveways. And everybody go, What? No, Tom, you can't do that. No, now you're a failure. And we're not going to follow that. And then somebody wakes him up and says, Tom, cut it out. Your gifting's football. Get back in football. He gets back in football and does a fantastic job because that's his calling and his gifting. And he's I'm just using him as an example. And then people go, yeah, but I wonder why he went failure. That's not good. So that makes them think a little bit. But he's bad. They enjoy the success of a leader, and they're into it. Like a pastor. He gets 50, 60 people, and suddenly people are starting to like him. He's getting popular, and he's got 200 people or 2,000 people. Or 20,000 people. And now everybody likes him. Oh, he's great. We're enjoying the church is great, and we're under a big successful move, and it's all good. And they all get a part of that. They all enjoy it. And you see them rah Cisco and Bob behind you and doing the cheerleading. But then you fail.
Well, you actually bring up a really good point.
They throw you out.
I think you can appreciate this, John. I know people like my wife and those kind of temperaments have no appreciation for what I'm about to say. But I'm trying to remember some book I read somewhere in this crap. There's there's at least one or two people who mention like, okay, well, what is success? What is failure? What is success? And it's like, well, success is continuing to move forward. So in other words, you don't put the pack down, but you're actually moving forward. That's the only actual definition of success. I actually, from a very practical, very tactical perspective, actually would totally agree with that. That what failure is misattributed to momentary events. So, for example, taking your situation, you have somebody who's famous, decides that they want to like go do something else, because why not? And maybe they don't do super well at it, and then people go, okay, well that's like a failure, and it's like, well, is it really? I mean, maybe your measurement of success is incorrect. But the reason why that matters is the reality being is fame is not success. It's its own thing. And that the reality is some, if not many things that one is given to like go lead, there isn't gonna be trumpets and horns at the end when you've reached it, whatever that even means. That doesn't even exist. In other words, there's kind of this very abstract nebulousness about doing this activity and doing it long enough that there's impacts that people can't measure and people can't perceive. And that's just the reality of how it's a very quiet occupation in that regard. And you can create milestones that people can like clearly see that you've crossed and you got into things, but those things are,
well, people
those things
equate fame with success.
yeah, they do. And they're wrong, because all the people that have that, they would never you would never want fame. Fame is a curse. I've thought about this many times.
Actually, the saddest and saddest people in the world are the rich and famous, because they have they drank the Kool-Aid on that stuff, and they're
Oh yeah.
dyed in the wool. Rich and famous, and they can't live without it. If they don't get the fame and the riches, they can't live without it. They lose a conscious understanding of what life is.
Fame is crazy. It's funny. Like a perfect reason why I have a hard time with this concept, even though I've in my mind go, well, I need to try to raise my stature to get more visibility, which of course is technically more fame. It's just like last night, for example. I was like, I want to just sit on the couch and just play video games, to be perfectly honest. And
hey, that sounds fun.
We had like company over, and they were doing like with my wife, and they were like doing their own thing. And then there was like extra kids over, and it's just like endless chaos all the way into like 10:30 at night. It's just like, can we end this so I can relax? And it's like, if you have fame, you never get that, ever, never. You don't get moments of privateness because you still have other people around you. And why I bring that up is like I've seen, because again, I get to watch it. I don't know if I fall in this same boat, but I definitely know in other people that when they're around other people, they act different. They do that kind of stuff all the time. They get more, an introvert all of a sudden is like chipper and all over the place. All over the place. It's like, can you just stop? Can you act like one way, or can you just act regular? Can we like just dial back the energy all the time?
I just, you just reminded me of something Liz said to me. We'll come over there and you watch TV. You kind of like, what do you call it, retreat into watching TV,
Yeah.
and you're not enjoying playing the games and getting into what everybody else is doing. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, that's true, but that's more a retreat in me.
Mm-hmm.
It's me wanting. I don't want to be a part of this rambunctious stuff. I just want to be me, and I enjoy watching TV and my throws and stuff, or entertained in that way. And that's a good. What do you call that word? Not retreat, but you run to it. That's my refuge.
Yeah. They call it like if you've ever read Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, they call it the cave.
Yeah,
That men retreat to the cave.
yeah, yeah.
And they just want to just recharge by like.
And I like my cave.
I just
So
find,
here's the problem, though. In leadership, the leader says, you know what? I like my cave way more than leading these people. Way more. I mean, there's no comparison. Cave, at least, that's not even on the scale.
Yeah.
And so we resort to that. I don't know is that word I want to, but take refuge. We go
Yeah,
to
refuge is the right word.
and read to it because we are discouraged,
Oh yes.
and we have defined ourselves. Sometimes it's just a personal definition that you feel really you're a failure, but sometimes it's just. I mean, if it's selfishness, I'd rather do this cave than the lead. That's one story. But if you're beat, disgusted with people, and you feel like they don't appreciate your pack,
Yeah.
they don't appreciate you, you go to the cave because that's the easiest, nicest thing to do. And
Well,
so
they
it's
say-
a very interesting. Well, I want to just finish his thought. It's very interesting that leaders go and do this, and they don't realize that in feeling like a failure, they are still failing. That is a failure to quit and to stop what you're called to do and what you're supposed to do. That also is a failure. And so we take it all in, and okay, well, then I'm a failure. And we define ourselves, as I see it, well, I'm a failure, so what? They don't care. They don't appreciate I'm out. What? Whoa, wait a minute. Time out. The leadership is a calling to a person who caught a vision. I just said that, and I hope people get a hold of it. It's a calling. God's calling you, and you catch the big picture, and you go, I'm going to do that. I'm going to share that. I'm going to talk about that. You can't just quit that. Yes, you can quit it. Yes, you can retreat. You can take flight. But you're called. That temperament and that personality and that you is needed. That you is very important to help people come a certain way. And then you graduate. I don't know if you understand this or not, but I've been in leadership for a long time. Then you graduate to a point where you're doing it not for your benefit, but for their benefit. You go, I'm going to be a leader for their benefit. Doesn't benefit me, and I don't really care, and I don't really want to, but I'm not going to not do it because the calling of that big picture is too important. I must get back in there and share them this or that to get them to see the big picture and to bring them along. That's leadership. Leadership is a choice when there's no benefit to you.
Well, I actually like that. I showed you that quote in here, the Luke quote. The Luke quote is a dangerous quote because it's super funny.
Briefly, it is.
Do you know which quote I'm talking about?
Yeah, vaguely read it, but
It's the for whom much is given, much is required.
yeah,
What
it's required that you get back in it.
what it's really saying is, hey, now that I've shown you this and you've told me or shown me that you know what I'm saying, you're now stuck. You can't. You're now judged in a much more extreme way than you were before you did it, because before you didn't know, you were oblivious and ignorant, and now you know. So you can't just.
You can't unsee it, my
Can't
friend.
unsee it. So to this point, like that concept, it's more than a concept because concepts aren't real. That right there, it actually, I'm now going to go in a totally different direction than where I was planning, but it embodies actually this entire topic because you're going to get beat even more on the backside of this because you know this. Because if you didn't know this stuff, then it was fine. It would roll right off your back. But because you know it,
That's right.
now you get this extra demon
You can't see it.
that is just
can't unsee
poking
it.
you constantly.
That's right.
About
and
this
you
stuff.
and you fall in. I just heard you say something that's concepts aren't real. I just heard you make that comment, but I have come down the road to see that it's actually more real than we say it is. It's it's nebulous. It's in the thought world, but that concept and what you just said that gets us that we saw the picture and now we're into it. You're stuck. That is real, even though we don't want it to be.
It is real. It is real.
I don't want it. No, thank you. I don't want it.
It is real.
And then they go, you know what? Yes, it is, and you are denying it. You are saying you're in a world of saying what's real and what's not real. Well, forget all that because it's real, and you can't unsee it. You can't. I saw the big picture.
Well, it's interesting. This is, I mean, in 2026 we're in now. I've brought this up a couple times
We're in
on our
2026.
podcast.
How'd that happen?
Yes. Yeah. How did it happen? 26. There is a lot of stuff that this crap is complicated now. I don't know if it's ever been this complicated, but it's really complicated now because we live in this very Kafka-esque world, which is there's just wild amounts of bureaucracy, and not even just from government, from corporations and so on. There's these giant bodies of people that are policy oriented. So, we'll read the Bible and we'll read about Pharisees. Well, there's Pharisee organizations everywhere. But what it means in this day and age is there's a lot of things that at different levels that if your thinking is at this level, you'll rise to leading a something, and you think it matters, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And where it gets really difficult, I've come to find, this is now my own personal thing, is navigating in these structures of pointlessness, of human behavior, where it looks to me that the only purpose is like just to churn. Get people in, they work 8 hours, they go out, they think that they've done something, and you're moving towards milestones, but none of them matter. This is the Soviet Union had the same thing going on, where it's like you hear about, like, you should go read if you haven't, John, the kinds of productions that they did back in like the 70s and maybe 60s or whatever, maybe even 80s. I think they actually got only more extreme. They were outproducing the United States so dramatically in ways that are incomprehensible. Here's a factoid for you that I don't know if you know. There has not been a new 7.62 round produced since like the 1970s. There has not been a single one produced. In other words, one of the most popular rounds in the entire world,
Bullet?
yes, was produced back then and had produced in such quantities that no factory has turned on to produce them since because they're still in stockpiles. That is crazy. That's utterly insane.
I thought of a concept here.
And hold on, let me finish just one. Okay, why am I bringing it up? They were producing this for a reason, but the reality is there was no reason to produce that much, and they produced it anyway. In other words, these people went in,
They did it
their
anyway.
blood, shed, and tears to produce all this stuff, and it was for no reason. That's all I wanted to say.
No, I agree. My point is going to be along that line. When the Giants have a baby, a giant, the baby looks
Not
like
a New York Giant.
no, not another giant. No, a world giant. The baby basically looks just like us, and we're okay. We can accept that. We can accept that. The baby's 5'7", 5'11", 6 foot, but we're okay with that. But when it gets past that point where it's no longer a normal baby, it's no longer in babyhood. It becomes 9 foot, 10 foot tall, a giant, 12 feet tall. Then we suddenly say the giant is abnormal. And we go, the giant it's bad to be a giant. It's kind of like, I hate to say this disease that happens. You've heard of elephantitis, where big feet or big legs or big head. The elephant boy, whatever, had a big head, and elephantitis. It's kind of like the giant stuff. The giant of the 7.62 round became such a giant, it's basically rejected. It's useless. No longer making it. We don't want it. Thank you, we got enough. We get to a point where we don't want any more hugeness. We want simple, down to earth, one little thing with a purpose. And that concept is really important because we see some things getting so big. So a guy's Elon Musk is going to be a trillionaire. What? Or a quintillionaire. What? None of it relates. It's way past our. It's and so what happens is the giantism is rejected and no longer desired, which is good because we don't need that giant. We need normal, down to earth, one little thing that has a purpose. And I think that leaders have to be careful about this. They're going for giant, more people, more success, greater this, greater maybe fame, greater money, great, until that giant gets past normalcy. And then we go, oh, it's not normal. It's really great, but it's not normal. It's getting even abnormal. And no longer are we desiring it anymore. We're looking at that thing and going, that's not really normal. It's not really in that realm that we need. And so giantism, like you were talking about, the giant of, they never have to make another round. They got so many stockpiles of it. It becomes a thing that's no longer needed. Even though they thought they were going to need them by the billions and trillions, it wasn't.
People
are talking about billionaires. There's hundreds and hundreds of billionaires.
Oh, yeah.
In the United States, I'm going, who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm asking a millionaire, what do you want to be? A billionaire. Okay, why do you want to have more millions? What is going to be happening in your life? And it's a greed, it's a sickness. It's something that's so big. It's giantism. It's elephantitis on humans. And so I've seen this happen even with leaders. They get a big head or, it's elephantitis of the head. And so suddenly we lose interest, but we also realize that giantism, that bigness, that greatness is not only not wanted nor needed, but it's now rejected.
Here's a funny point to that. It's actually it's like fame. It's an illusion.
It's an illusion.
To something that's real, and it's kind of to the point earlier where I was talking about, like, you have to lead things that are quiet and not a big thing, that they're not. And the thing with the nature of big, I think, I could be wrong on this, but I think it comes from a feeling that unless you get large enough, you don't have an impact. And so people would say, it's obvious that Elon Musk has an impact because he's so large. And it's like, I'm not convinced, to be perfectly honest, that he has any more impact today than he did 2 years ago.
Yeah. I agree. I think we say that's a good statement. We think bigger means greater impact, and maybe our simple little impact, our small little impact, that one little thing that we're doing is a greater impact than the big impact.
Again, I would show that via math that more than likely is the case. I show people on napkins at parties and this and that, my crazy math, but one just showing that the amount of gain of something as something gets as you go longer down the road, the amount that something can gain is actually less. So the amount of growth that Elon Musk has had, for example, over the last 2 years is substantially less than the amount that he had back at like PayPal. So for example, going into PayPal, from a baby to like selling PayPal, he had the greatest amount of growth and the greatest amount of increase in impact. And ever since then, it has diminished ever since.
Yeah, in fact, when he got to bigness was not going at that same pace.
No.
So you lose pace. You're so big that you actually lose momentum in a way.
And here's
a way.
Yeah, and here's what people don't understand. They only see what's called like the first derivative. They see the just the sheer number, just the number, and they see that as massive.
The big.
But the
size.
reality is like impact and these sorts of things, and like growing to impact, where you might say, I want to be a bigger person to have bigger impact. That is not measured in numericalness. That's measured in a second derivative, which would be like acceleration, right? You get into a car, you go faster, you can actually feel it. You've actually grown. That number decreases over time.
Yeah.
As you get larger and larger. So a way to understand this is the amount of growth from 10 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour is a 2x. That, if you go from, and so it feels like a 2x. If you go from 90 miles an hour to 100 miles an hour, it's the same amount of increase in number, but now like the number's really big, it's only a 10% increase, kind of roughly. So the amount of impact on you as a
Right.
feeling is less. So
Right.
what this actually means is
Right.
if you don't actually, if
Right.
you're not aware that this is happening,
Right.
you will fall prey to the fact of the more, like a junkie. You actually need more in order to have a feeling. And those mores grow dramatically.
And I think we've accepted this because we listen to the world that says size matters.
That's right.
And it's not necessarily so. What you just said is a very good way of saying it. But I just say you're so big and your momentum and your increase is not as much anymore. It's just a tiny little bit. It might be a little here, a little here. But that from time he started to PayPal and so, yeah, tremendous. But now he's so big, it's almost immeasurable. And that increase, that's what happens to very large churches too, in a way. They get so big and famous and size matters and big is better when really big is not better. And I used to say, if they're so big, then why don't they make 300 little churches? Why do they got to have one big church? Because we lose concept of what's important. And then the leader in his little world that he's leading here or doing, he sees that and sees the greatness that could happen, and they get discouraged and they quit, take the pack off. They want to run. They had enough. And I'm saying, you only saw a tiny bit of failure. You think that you did, but that's a nothing failure compared to what you could have. And the bigger you get, the bigger the fall. The bigger they are, the bigger the fall. So you bigger you get, you're going to have a horrible time about a failure. I have more trouble.
Really
Some people say I have more trouble with failures than successes. Well, yeah, I've heard that said, and but some people say you're going to have more trouble with a success than you are a failure. I'm saying, well, what I'm saying is you can't judge success or failure anymore. You're past, you went by there, and you don't know if you're flying or if you're walking. You don't know. And so you're making a determination, and you need to just put the pack back on and do what you're called to do, be who you are, and that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. That little impact's enough. One is when they first made the first 762, maybe make 100, and that's enough. We'll make 100 when we need it. We lose sight of the simple calling when he called us and showed us a big picture, and we went, I want to be a part of. That's catching the vision, and I got to be a part of that because I've seen it. And like you said, you're stuck because you can't unsee it. You can't say,
no,
I don't see it no more. I don't believe that no more. Yes, you do. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You're mad at it because it was difficult and it hurt you and you didn't quite go where you wanted to go. But I'm trying to say to a leader, if you quit at the dinky little amount that you got to, and you quit, you don't have enough to go on to say that you should have quit, and you don't really know where you're at. You don't know if you're huge or small. You just need to be faithful to the calling. Just, be honest about yourself. Did you fail? Yeah, I failed. But I'm not quitting. I'm not done. I have to keep going in my calling and in my element, in my lane, because that's what success is. It's just keep on keeping on. The righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. That's the difference. There's that understanding. And everything that you said is right on the money. So many people, they think giantism is wonderful, it's great, big is better, but really it's elephantitis.
The one comment I got to say about the giant thing, because I think about like a large church. People like a large church because you can disappear. The reality is a large church. They've got to do like as the pools of money get larger, the impacts that they're going to do are bigger. Oftentimes, that usually means there's less that you have to do at an individual level, whereas the local church that has 6, 7 people, they're going to know if you're there at the proverbial picnic or
That is so true.
the selling, the group selling event or whatever. If you're not there just by mathematical whatever, 20% of the people aren't there or 10% of the people.
If I were to go to a small church like you and I went to,
Yeah.
10, 12 people, I would tell them, look, you don't know how blessed you are because your impact, though in your mind small and not many,
Yes,
is a greater impact
it is.
than Joel Osteen's church.
Each individual person's actual impact is larger. There are some good things with big, but there's also, I would say, there's more benefits to small. But you do need big, but that's a different topic. All right. Well, I guess that's your time, huh?
Yeah, I guess we got to run to a birthday party of a guy turning 75 or whatever he's turning.
Sounds
And,
good. Then there's going to be a big a big reveal.
Yeah.
That he's actually
Yeah, and
been
I'm
with
going to go in and
somebody.
say, hey, keep it down, keep it down.
All right. Well, we'll
That's
see.
a good topic we talked about. That's good stuff. This is good stuff. This is not bad stuff.
No.
Make a comment, please. Somebody, please.
We're not doing things extreme enough or big enough to get comments. John.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. We'll
Yeah.
see y'all.
Blessings.